Hey everyone, Vernon Wall here, your ACPA president, he, him pronouns. I'm coming to you from Washington, D.C., the ancestral homeland of many Native and Indigenous tribes, but primarily the Piscataway. I wanted to take a moment to introduce to you the President to President series. I remember after becoming ACPA president in March, I started this daily ritual where every morning I would get up and turn on my computer, and the very first thing I would do would be read the weekly daily briefing from the Chronicle of Higher Education every morning for about 30 minutes. And I remember thinking during that time about university presidents and the things that they were navigating during the time, multiple pandemics, enrollment, revenue, racial injustice, COVID-19, you name it. And I remember thinking, what's going on? How are these presidents navigating this? And then I remember thinking about people that I know who have backgrounds in higher education and student affairs who are now current presidents. And in my mind, if anyone can navigate this time, it would be those who have experience in student affairs and higher education and are now college presidents or CEOs of major higher education organizations. And so hence this series began. I began pulling together a list, and I was so lucky to have a good number of folks to join this series. And so as a teaser, what I'd like to do is share with you an interview that Dr. Deneece Huftalin did for us to really ground some things that she was thinking about as president of Salt Lake City Community College. And I believe this is a good way for you to get a sense of what the series will be about. And so I want to thank Deneece for sharing this clip with us. And I hope that you will be able to get a sense for some of the interviews that will be coming up. Feel free to tweet along as you are viewing this and share thoughts, comments, and reaction to @ACPA2Pres, @ACPA, hashtag ACPA2Pres, or making sure also too that you're connecting Deneece into that, and that's at SLCC Huftalin, Huftalin, and at Salt Lake CC. So let's hear a little bit from Deneece.
Hi, I'm Deneece Huftalin, and I serve as the president at Salt Lake Community College. I'm in my 7th year as the president, and I'm just going to share a little bit about my trajectory to get to this role. So I feel like I'm the luckiest person alive. I've been the president now for a few years, and we sit in the middle of Salt Lake County, which is one of the most racially diverse counties in Utah. I know many of you cannot imagine that Utah is diverse, but believe it or not, it is. And that actually makes our learning environment really, really good. So Salt Lake Community College has 10 sites and online. We serve almost 60,000 students a year. 34% of those students identify as students of color. 54% of them identify as first-generation students. And we have a major diversity around religion, sexual orientation, veterans, students with disabilities. My sense is that diversity makes our learning environments even more rich, more robust, and a better experience for our students in terms of what they're going to experience in the real world. And my sense is now more than ever, we need to graduate students who know how to work together, who know how to solve wicked problems, and who know how to communicate in a civil and democratic and productive way. So I love my job, and I love Salt Lake Community College. I think community colleges are really important right now. If you know the history of community colleges, you know that they started in kind of a way to democratize higher education. They were started to be open access, to be very affordable, to be flexible, to have a workforce mission, not just transfer. And they really were started to help students who maybe were coming back to school later in life or had just been displaced from their job come back and see themselves in the classroom and earn a degree. That's not how I started my career. Most of my work at higher education as a young professional were at private or public four-year selective institutions. And while I loved those positions, I was working with students that were going to make it no matter what. And this environment, the community college environment, really helps me see the diversity of our students and the different kinds of ways that we can transform not just students, but their families. I can't tell you how many stories I have of students who never thought they should come to college. They weren't college material, and yet they find themselves, they find their voice, they get the confidence, and they go off to do cool things. So I love the community college presidency. For those of you that are interested in a student affairs to presidency trajectory, I will say this. I think the student affairs profession just creates an enormous learning opportunity for professionals to step into the presidency. And here's why. We are all about community and building community in student affairs, and that has been my number one task as president, is to help our faculty and staff and students feel like one community, understand a vision of where we need to go and know how to get there, and to keep them focused on that vision and it's inspired for that aspirational goal throughout my tenure. So the idea that you build community in student affairs translates beautifully to the presidency. I never wanted to be president because I didn't want to deal with the legislature and I didn't want to raise money. And what I've learned as a president is all that is telling the stories of our students. And I can tell stories. So I walk into meetings with legislators, I walk into meetings with donors, and all I do is tell our students' story, and that speaks for itself. We've had a very successful capital campaign. We've done very well in the legislature because we can tell remarkable stories of transformative and inclusive education. And I think that's really, really powerful. I will give you a couple things of advice. First of all, if you're in student affairs and you're thinking about a presidency, I want you to get to know your faculty very, very well. Faculty must endorse you as a president. They must know that you trust faculty, that you recognize their credentials, that you understand the credibility and the respect that they deserve, and that you know that they are the owners of the curriculum. You've got to get their trust to be an effective president. And I did that as a student affairs professional by being on the General Education Curriculum Committee or the Faculty Senate, listening in and adding student affairs commentary to the decisions they were making about curriculum. I made great friendships with faculty members. And when I decided to run for president, those faculty were the ones that stepped up to say yes, even though I didn't have an academic background from the faculty, they trusted me to serve as their president. So my number one advice would be to get to know your faculty and get to learn the incredible work that they do in the classroom. Especially at a community college, faculty are the number one supporters for students. Students spend more time than ever with faculty, especially at a community college. And we know the incredible impact they can have on a student's success. So I hope that helps. I hope that answers some of the questions, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you all, my ACPA friends.
I just want to thank Deneece for sharing this clip with us and giving us the opportunity to really hear some of her insights and some of her thoughts as she thinks about her role as president at Salt Lake City Community College. If you click on myacpa.org/ACPA2GO, you will see all of the interviews that I did with current sitting presidents and CEOs of higher education organizations, getting a sense for what's going on, how are they navigating this time. And I really hope that these will be helpful as you continue to have great conversations with colleagues. And please don't forget, ACPA 21, a virtual experience, is coming up in March. And we will continue to have great dialogue there as we continue to boldly transform higher education. Thanks so much.